The story begins in a forgotten century, when the great cathedral of an ancient empire burned beneath a sky of iron clouds. Flames rose higher than the towers, casting shadows that seemed alive. The crowd below gathered in fear, whispering not about the fire itself, but about the documents hidden deep within its vaults, scrolls that told of truths never meant for mortal ears. Some claimed these flames were no accident, but a cover-up ordered by the High Council, erasing the last traces of forbidden knowledge. As the bells melted in the heat, the people realized that history itself was being rewritten before their eyes. Long before the first empires of Mesopotamia, clay tablets were said to hold the instructions of gods. But when archaeologists stumbled upon strange inscriptions beneath the ruins of Uruk, their discovery was sealed away. The symbols spoke of a time when mankind was guided by beings of fire and shadow. Scholars argued in secret, for anyone caught spreading the translations would be silenced. The cover-up was simple: claim the tablets were broken, unreadable. Yet in truth, they told of rituals so powerful they could bend the laws of nature itself. Beneath the sands of Egypt lies a chamber untouched for millennia. Rumors tell of a secret room under the Great Pyramid, sealed with black granite stronger than steel. In the 1800s, explorers reported hearing hollow echoes inside its walls, but their writings vanished from public record. Legends insist that the chamber holds a library of impossible machines, far older than the pyramid itself. Pharaohs may have ruled above, but something older and wiser may have whispered in the darkness below. In the mountains of Anatolia, archaeologists unearthed golden masks, unlike anything seen before. Each was carved not with human faces, but with twisted forms, half beast, half man. The masks were quietly locked away in museum vaults, never displayed, for they whispered of rulers who were not entirely human. Some say the masks were worn during ceremonies that bound kingdoms to otherworldly forces. If these kings once walked among men, then history had carefully erased them. The story often told is simple. Fire consumed the great library, and knowledge was lost forever. But some ancient scrolls whisper otherwise. Witnesses claimed crates of manuscripts were carried out before the flames. They were said to contain maps of unknown continents, prophecies of celestial events, and forbidden sciences that threatened the powers of the age. These crates were not lost. They were hidden. To this day, some believe the secret collection rests beneath the Vatican, sealed away from humanity's eyes. In a remote desert, tribes told of a massive stone that fell from the sky, glowing like a second sun. Those who touched it claimed to hear voices in languages they did not know. Centuries later, explorers found fragments buried in shifting dunes, only to have them confiscated by powerful institutions. Officially, the stone never existed, but local songs still describe how it gave men visions of machines flying like birds and towers piercing the heavens. Off the coast of Japan, divers stumbled upon stone structures deep under the ocean, carved with impossible precision. The formations looked like steps, pillars, and plazas, hinting at a sunken city older than all known civilizations. Authorities dismissed the discovery as natural rock formations, but the carvings of creatures long extinct told another story. This was once a thriving metropolis swallowed by the sea. The truth was too dangerous. It would rewrite human history itself. In the forests of Europe lies a ruined abbey where monks once lived in silence. But their silence was not voluntary. It was imposed. Hidden manuscripts describe that the monks had stumbled upon an ancient language, said to summon voices from beyond the grave. Their tongues were cut out by the order itself, preventing the knowledge from spreading. The abbey was abandoned, and the forest swallowed its stones. To this day, locals avoid the ruins, saying that whispers echo there at night. Carthage was feared not only for its armies, but for its secrets. In hidden chambers, priests performed rituals before idols older than the city itself. Roman historians hinted at blood pacts binding Carthage to dark patrons, but official records were censored. When Carthage fell, Rome claimed victory. But some whisper the destruction was as much about silencing forbidden worship as it was about war. The ruins of Carthage still hold altars where the stones seem to pulse faintly at dusk. Hidden within a monastery in the Himalayas are manuscripts said to describe voyages beyond the earth. The texts tell of sages who could walk upon the moon, mapping its craters long before telescopes existed. When explorers tried to translate these manuscripts in the 19th century, they were swiftly removed and locked away. Officially, they were dismissed as myths, yet the drawings within them, shockingly accurate to modern maps, suggest otherwise. The Oracle of Delphi was said to speak for the gods, but behind her words lay darker mysteries. Travelers once wrote of statues near the temple that whispered answers to those who pressed their ears against the marble. These statues, it was claimed, were carved not by humans, but by something far older. When Roman officials investigated, they ordered the statues buried deep beneath the earth, never to speak again. Yet sometimes, after earthquakes, locals swore they could hear faint voices rising from the cracks in the ground. Deep in the jungles of Central America, a single codex escaped destruction. Within its pages were star maps unlike any seen before, predicting not only eclipses, but the fall of empires and the end of ages. When Spanish priests discovered it, they locked it away, claiming it was dangerous sorcery. Some believed the codex told of celestial visitors and the cycles of time they imposed on mankind. Only fragments remain, but whispers say the full manuscript lies in a hidden archive, watched over by silent guardians. Vikings spoke of a serpent made not of flesh, but of iron that slithered beneath the frozen seas. Carved stones in Scandinavia depict what looks eerily like a metallic machine, centuries before such inventions. When explorers found strange riveted fragments along the Norwegian coast, officials dismissed them as ship parts. Yet the locals knew better. They said the iron serpent was a guardian, buried by gods after men tried to control it. Its remains, some say, still lie hidden under layers of ice. Babylon, the jewel of the ancient world, was said to hold gates that did not open to other cities, but to other realms. Written accounts describe priests guarding immense bronze doors, covered in stars and constellations. When Babylon fell, these gates vanished from record. Some whispered they were sealed beneath the ruins, buried under sand and stone to prevent anyone from stepping through. Rumors persist that when lightning strikes the site, Faint outlines of glowing doors appear in the dust. On a windswept hill in ancient Britannia stood a monolith taller than any man, black as obsidian. Druids gathered there in secret, for the stone was said to drink the blood of sacrifices, glowing faintly at night. When Rome conquered the land, they tried to topple it, but the monolith would not break. Instead, they buried it, covering it with soil and grass, building a fort above it. To this day, legends warn that the monolith still waits beneath the earth, pulsing with hunger. In medieval Persia, stories spread of an alchemist who lived far longer than any man should. His secret, they said, was written in scrolls made of an unknown material that never decayed. When the caliph's scholars found him, the scrolls were taken and locked in a vault. His house burned to ash. To the world, the alchemist vanished. But whispers insist his scrolls still exist, teaching formulas to turn flesh to stone and stone to gold. Nomads across the Eurasian steppes told of a black tower that rose overnight, standing taller than any mountain. When warriors approached, they vanished, their horses returning without riders. Legends said the tower was not built by men, but by beings who walked between worlds. When invaders sought to find it centuries later, nothing remained but a vast circular scar on the earth. Scholars dismissed it as myth, yet shepherds swear that at certain dawns, the shadow of a tower still falls across the plain. Hidden high in the mountains, monks once guarded bronze bells said to summon storms and shake the earth. When struck, their tones carried for miles, shaking windows and making the ground tremble. Travelers who witnessed it described it as if the mountains themselves were answering. These bells, too dangerous for human hands, were sealed in caves, their entrances collapsed. Local tales insist that avalanches sometimes reveal fragments of their bronze edges, still vibrating faintly as if alive. Among the ruins of forgotten temples, carvings tell of a library shaped like a coiled serpent. Priests entered through its mouth and walked down halls lined with scales carved from jade. Inside, it was said, were records of the earth's ages, written by those who came before mankind. When conquistadors heard of it, they searched desperately, but found nothing. The natives whispered that the serpent closed its jaws forever, sinking beneath the jungle floor. In Eastern Europe, a noble family passed down a mirror said to trap shadows. Those who looked into it sometimes saw not their reflection, but figures standing behind them. Rumors grew that the mirror was used in rituals to summon spirits, binding them within its glass. When the family fell into ruin, the mirror was seized by the church and locked away in a monastery cellar. Centuries later, during a fire, the cellar was destroyed, but the mirror was never found. In the deserts of Arabia, explorers uncovered a vast tomb carved into stone, its walls covered with inscriptions of kings and warriors. Yet, at the center, where the sarcophagus should have held its ruler, there was nothing but dust. Scholars whispered that the body was never buried because the one entombed had never died. Legends said the figure walked out of the tomb at night, disappearing into the sands. To conceal the truth, officials declared the tomb unfinished, though its carvings told another story. In Greece, Tales told of a temple lantern that burned without oil, glowing century after century. Priests claimed it was a gift from the gods, while skeptics suspected forbidden knowledge of lost science. When invaders seized the temple, they smashed the lantern. But witnesses said its pieces still glowed for days before finally going dark. Rumors suggest that fragments of it were hidden away, studied in secret by kings and scientists alike, seeking to harness its endless light. Long before paleontology, villagers uncovered massive bones in the mountains of China. They believed them to be the remains of dragons, and emperors sent collectors to seize them for their palaces. Officially, the bones were ground into powder for medicine, but some fragments were hidden, too strange and too large to be explained. These relics were sealed in underground chambers guarded by silence. Were they truly dragons, or something even older than legend itself? Sailors spoke of a lighthouse taller than any known, its fire visible for hundreds of miles. Then, one night, it vanished, swallowed by the ocean without a sound. Maps that once marked its place were altered, leaving nothing but empty water. Some believe it was no lighthouse at all, but a tower that reached for the heavens, built by those who came before. On rare nights, sailors claim to see a beam of light piercing the waves, as if the tower still calls from beneath the sea. Before the terracotta warriors were discovered, rumors told of another hidden army buried deeper and older. Unlike clay, these figures were said to be made of metal, forged with precision beyond ancient skill. When a few fragments were uncovered, they were immediately seized and declared modern forgeries. But whispers insist an entire army still lies beneath the desert. Swords rustless, shields unbroken, waiting for a command that never comes. Legends of Egypt spoke of a mask more powerful than the treasures of Tutankhamun, one said to give eternal life to its wearer. Pharaohs fought and killed for it, until it was sealed away in a chamber guarded by curses. Those who tried to recover it died in strange ways, struck down by fever, madness, or vanished entirely. To prevent chaos, scribes erased its existence from records. Still, in written texts, the mask is drawn with eyes that seem alive. High in the Andes, carved into rock, is a map of the stars so precise it matches modern astronomy. It charts not only visible constellations, but ones only seen with telescopes. When discovered, it was declared a coincidence, a random pattern. Yet locals claim it was drawn by beings who descended from the sky, teaching their ancestors the ways of the heavens. The carving was later fenced off and closed to the public, sealed with silence. Beneath Rome, where miles of tunnels stretch into darkness, whispers tell of a creature sealed away in ancient times. Bones of men and animals have been found stacked unnaturally deep, as if hidden from sight. Priests once warned never to enter certain passages, for the beast still stirred beyond the walls. When modern explorers tried to investigate, collapses and fires ended their work. Officials called it coincidence. Survivors swore they heard breathing in the dark. Travelers in the Sahara spoke of a city that shimmered like glass, its walls reflecting the desert sun. But when approached, the city vanished, leaving only dunes. Some believed it was an illusion, others that it slipped between worlds. Ancient traders described carrying goods there, exchanging treasures with silent, silver-eyed inhabitants. Maps marking its location were quietly removed, leaving nothing but legend. Yet sometimes, mirages in the desert seemed too perfect, too real to be only heat. In the medieval monastery, a book was chained to a stone altar, its pages said to be written in ink made of blood. Those who read it claimed to see their own deaths within its words. Fear spread quickly, and the church ordered it destroyed. But witnesses say the flames refused to burn it. Instead, the book was sealed in iron, buried under the monastery's deepest vault. Legends warn that if the book is opened again, history itself might bend to its script. In the mountains of Central Asia lies a cave that swallows sound, yet returns whispers hours later. Travelers described hearing their own voices repeated back in languages they did not know. Ancient shamans believed the cave was a gateway, where words passed into another realm before returning altered. When explorers documented it, their notes vanished. Authorities declared the cave unstable and sealed it shut. But locals still say the rocks carry voices of the dead. In an abandoned monastery in Europe, hidden beneath dust, stood a clock unlike any other. Its gears were made of metals unknown, and it ticked not with hours, but with centuries. Monks claimed it measured the lifespan of civilizations. When it struck once, empires fell. Terrified, the church dismantled it, scattering the pieces across Europe. Yet legends say when the gears are reunited, the clock will tick again, counting down to the end of our age. Deep in the Siberian tundra, explorers found black stone walls rising from the ice, polished smoother than glass. Inside were corridors lined with frozen statues, some human, others unrecognizable. The citadel was said to pulse with a strange hum, even beneath centuries of frost. Authorities declared it a natural formation and forbade entry. Yet hunters whisper of lights glowing beneath the ice, and of shadows moving within the walls themselves. Sailors once feared a ghostly vessel that appeared during storms, its sails glowing white. Unlike the Flying Dutchman, this ship did not vanish. It followed, matching every move, until sailors surrendered their course. Some claimed it was crewed by those who had cheated death, cursed to sail forever. When naval officials investigated, the reports were erased. To this day, fishermen whisper of a silent ship that sails without wind, following those who dare to look too long. Across North Africa are wells so deep that no rope has ever reached the bottom. Ancient texts call them doors to night, where offerings were thrown to appease unseen gods. Travelers described strange winds rising from the depths, carrying scents of fire and ash. To stop superstitions, rulers sealed many of these wells, filling them with stone. But shepherds still hear moans at night, as if voices call upward from the endless dark. During the Black Death, some priests wore masks not of bird beaks, but of silver and bronze, carved with sigils. These masks were said to protect them not only from disease, but from the spirits of death that followed the plague. Survivors wrote that these priests walked unharmed through villages where everyone else perished. The masks were collected by the church and hidden away, declared heretical. Yet rumors persist that a few remain, waiting to be worn again. Beneath a ruined fortress in Eastern Europe, soldiers uncovered a chamber painted entirely black, with a single golden sun at its center. But the sun was inverted, its rays pointing inward. When light touched the painting, the room grew colder, shadows deepened, and men fled in terror. Officials sealed the chamber, burying it under rubble. Legends claim that those who dream of the black sun see visions of empires falling in fire. Hidden high in the mountains, stories tell of a bridge woven not from rope, but from stone that floated in the air. Villagers crossed it to reach temples in the clouds. When invaders came, the bridge crumbled and vanished, as though it had never been there. Modern climbers report strange shapes of stone suspended briefly in mist, as if the bridge still tries to return. Officials dismiss it as optical illusion, but the locals know better. Far beneath Jerusalem lies a crypt said to hold the Watchers, beings who taught mankind forbidden knowledge. Ancient scrolls speak of them chained in stone coffins, guarded by curses. When explorers tried to enter, earthquakes sealed the passages. Religious authorities forbid any further excavation, declaring it blasphemy. Yet some believe the Watchers still stir, their chains rattling in the silence below. At the end of all secrets lies a book said to be older than humanity itself. Written in a script no one can fully read, it tells the story not of the past, but of the future, the end of days. Every ruler who held it tried to hide it, for its words drove men to madness. Scholars believe it still exists, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the one who dares to read its final page. For if the book is opened, history's last cover-up will shatter, and mankind will face truths beyond all imagining.